Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate. Thank you all so much for joining me for this first look deck tech. Tonight, I will be talking about Dedra Meero, however you want to say her name. But we're going to be talking about Dedra, one of the new Set 6 leaders, talking about control. And this is not going to be your average just soft control deck. This is a hard control hand hate deck that's going to make your opponents want to run away. But we will be covering a little bit of deck strategy. We'll be talking about when you should be flipping your leader. We'll be talking a little bit about, some of the sideboards that I've created and kind of going from there to see essentially what this deck is all about. With that being said, this is a Secrets of Power leader. She is very powerful in my opinion, and she allows you to either do 2 damage to a unit or the opponent lets you draw a card. There is no restriction on anything for what you get to do damage to, so you could do damage to any leader that is allowed to have damage dealt to them, or any unit that's allowed to have damage dealt to them. You get to activate it once a turn. If they don't want to do damage to their units, you get to draw a card. So you always will have extra cards in hand. So I've chosen the Colossus base, usually based on the pure fact that turn 1, you're able to destroy a unit that they played, put damage on a unit, or they just don't want that and they let you draw a card. She is very, very, very good at being able to fill your hand back up. So starting with 1 less card is not quite as impactful as maybe it is with other leaders. Her leader ability is unique, allowing you to flip basically anything after 4 resources, which is odd because we have a 4 resource leader that I have built a hard control deck around. So I don't know, like, that's very unusual, but because of that, it allows us to be able to flip on 4 resources to help control the board, or it helps us or allows us to flip later to be able to use her as an end game piece as well. So you get to kind of flip her whenever you want. And the best part about it is because you usually have more cards than your opponent because you're only playing 1 or 2 cards a turn. You usually have extra cards in your hand that your opponent does not have. So she gets a raid 2, which basically means she's a 4/5, which is pretty good in my opinion for her as a leader. Let's now talk a little bit about the choices for the cards I made in the deck. We'll go over the deck list first. We're not going to cover the sideboard till we kind of get to the end of the video, but we will talk a little bit about my sideboard choices. So to start with, I have 2 Confiscate, 2 Restock, 2 of the Eye of Alderaanian, 3 Top Targets, 2 Force Choke, 2 Entrenched, 1 Tech, 3 of the Client, 2 of Knowledge and Expertise, 2 of Let's Call It War, 3 Merciless Contests, 3 Open Fires, 3 Power the Dark Sides, 2 of the Charged with Murder, 2 Fell the Dragons, 3 Pillage, 2 Takedown, 3 Vigilance, 3 of No Glory, Only Results, 2 Retaliation, 1 Bounty Hunter Crew, 1 Rivals Fall, 3 Super Laser Blast, 3 Crate Dragons, and 2 of the Annihilators. Now, I'm running a little bit bigger of a deck. That is because I'm testing out which cards I really like and which ones I don't. There's a possibility that a few of these cards get cut to get down there. The one-off choices are specifically to help in control matchups or in matchups I need to recur healing or resource things that I didn't want to resource. But we'll get to some of those later. So this is where the deck is specifically at. All right, moving on to our opening hand. Essentially, your opening hand, you get 5 cards. So you want to be very particular in the cards that you are keeping. We are a control deck. We do care the most about cards that affect damage, and it's going to kind of depend on who you're playing against, right? So if you know for a fact your opponent's going to be opening with like a bigger board versus 1 unit, you need to keep a little bit more of the control type stuff that allows you to do multiple things of damage. If you think you are not going to have like a control opening, or you're playing against a mid-range deck and they're only playing 1 unit a turn, or they're going to be resourcing and skipping because they want to ramp against you, your hand choices can be a little bit different. I will tell you the best card to have in hand is tech, because you can resource it turn one, because you ain't playing that for for 4 more turns, even if you wanted to. So you could take, if you get a tech in your opening hand and some of these other cards, that's like a great hand to be able to go ahead and resource. The biggest thing is you do not want to resource a super laser blast unless you pull 2 of them and you hit a mulligan, you get it 2 again. You don't ever want to resource a vigilance. So vigilance and super laser blast are the 2 you don't really want to resource. If you get like a crate dragon or annihilator, I would go ahead and resource one of them. Hopefully you don't get both of them in your opening hand. But for example, if you get a Power of the Dark Side, Merciless Contest, and a Knowledge and Experience, right, and then a Crate and an Annihilator, I'm resourcing the Crate and Annihilator and not going back on it. Now, the other big thing is if you don't have an open Power of the Dark Side or a Merciless Contest, but you have open fire, and they play a unit that, or you think they're going to play a unit that has 5 health, your turn 1 can be spent trying to do 2 damage or drawing a card. So it does help you a little bit, because essentially on that turn 1, you're going to get to do that damage to them. And if they refuse or don't want that to take that damage, you're getting an extra card. So you basically are almost starting with the same hand that they're starting with. I will tell you, let's call it War. Is one of the best opening cards to have if they're going to be playing multiple units in the same arena. If they are not in the same arena, by the way, it does not work. But being able to do 3 damage to one thing and 2 damage to another thing is really good. Having that initiative, having that for turn 3 is really good. You being able to pick damage with like using your ability to throw damage onto something is super, super nice. So turn 1, your turn 1 play is Dedra. That's you could, I guess, play a Confiscate if you needed to, or a top target. You could play the Eye of Alderaan. I don't know if I would recommend that, but you could do that, because then technically their next phase, they would have to pay a resource and they're going to be having to play off curve. And so that is a thought process. Your goal really, though, is to essentially with her is get your card. You're paying 1 resource, either do damage to a unit or get a card. And if she does damage to a unit and it's something that's got like a Grogu, for example, that already has damage on it, now that Grogu has 4 damage, you're not going to play a unit for them to dump damage onto. So like, what do you care, right? Then it just makes your it turns on your knowledge and defense. It turns on your force choke. It turns on open fire. It turns on, let's call it war. Like, there's so many things that this turns on for it. So I always utilize her turn 1, unless they're only playing 1 unit and I have 2 kill spells, like 2 powers, a merciless and a power, or 2 mercilesses, something like that. If I have those, I will not go ahead to activate her. I'll just claim and kill. We've done that in Trench hard control for a long time, and it's worked out very well. But essentially, this is a pretty simple turn 1 play that you get to do. So now we're not going to talk about turn 2, because really our deck is designed to do nothing but kill the other units and then mill them. So we have essentially 2 types of, we have 3 types of end games really with them, and we essentially have 2 types of cards. We have what we call kill spells, and then we have what we call like hand hate, healing type spells that are kind of like, how do I slow you down? So to begin with, the first set of cards that I have is, let's call it War, Open Fire, and Force Choke. So Force Choke is super nice if you have any leader that has 5 or less health. If you draw that in your opening hand, or you draw that, you do not want to get rid of it, because it just kills any leader that has 5 or less health. So basically any leader that comes out turn 3, almost every leader can just be killed by Force Choke. So if they cannot strip your hand, or if you think they can strip your hand, then that's fine. Maybe you don't want that card. But if they can't strip your hand, you literally just have this card that plays and kills their leader. Let's call it War is really good. Essentially, if they have something that has 5 health, because you can do the 2 damage turn 1, and then that just kills it. So even if they don't have another unit in the arena, it's super awesome for that. I've had a couple of times where they'll have something, they won't do the damage turn 1, but turn 2 they'll let me do the damage to that unit for some reason, and then I just immediately claim without even playing a spell, and now I'm up an extra card, and I'm going to be able to kill 2 of their units, or damage 2 of their units next turn. So it's very situational. Open fire is 100% better. If you know that you could just up and kill something with open fire, just do it. Don't mess around with the Let's Call It War. But Let's Call It War is just so good with her as extra control. It's just not even funny. Like I use that religiously against space decks all the time. Then we have obviously Takedown, Power, Merciless Contest, Fell the Dragon. Those are very simplistic. I mean, we know what they do. Those are your basic unit control elements. I will say if you get a Fell the Dragon in your opening hand and you playing against an aggro deck, I don't usually save that card. But if I'm playing against like a mid-range or a control deck, I almost always save that card and do not resource it. Fell the Dragon is situational. We have a lot of other kill spells, so it's not the end of the world if we don't have it. But if you know they're playing Crate Dragons, or if you know that they're going to be playing Cad Banes or Lukes or Vaders, or Anakins, it's just super nice to be able to have that card for when they play it. The next type of kill spells we have are debuff removal spells. The new one that you probably have not played or seen a lot of is called Knowledge and Defense. This is super amazing because it's a -2/-2, and you get to draw a card. So you pay 3 resources, you get to do -2/-2, and you get to draw a card. So for example, if turn 1 they play, I don't know, they play a Marin, right? I guess that's a bad thing. They play anything with 4 or less health, then you can do your 2 damage to that unit if they let you, and then the next turn you're just killing it. So they didn't want you to draw a card, so they took the 2 damage, figured you're just wasting your actions if versus claiming empowering, but then I get to play that and get to draw my card anyway. It's also very, very useful against Lurking TIE Phantoms. I will tell you that. I hate those cards. I love playing them, but I hate playing against them, especially with this type of deck. So if I'm playing against something where I know that I save that card for them. No Glory, Only Results. Same thing. It's a removal spell that steals their unit. It's very good against anything that has when defeated actions, because it gives you the ability to use their when defeated action because you control it while you defeat it. The last one that we have on here is called Charged with Murder. This one requires a little bit more setup. I'm not sold on this one, but this one allows you to show them 2 blue resource cards. So it could be just Vigilance. You could just show the Vigilance, or you could show them like a Power and a Fell. We are typically heavier in blue in this deck, so this does get off. I've only once not had this get off, but then what it does is it defeats a damaged unit. So it is kind of like if they let you do damage to a unit, and let's say the biggest example I have is that somebody will play a Gunji turn 1. They'll let me do the 2 damage to it. Turn 2, they won't let me do damage to it, and then they throw a lightsaber on that stupid thing. They get to swing into base. I don't have a kill spell to kill it, so I just claim and go to the next turn. I have that. Now I have the extra cards. I have the ability to use Charged with Murder, and I just get to show them that card, right, and kill their unit without having to burn a Power of the Dark Side or something like that. It's situational, but it has come in a little bit handy for me. The next set of kill spells is Retaliation, right? That is kind of a card in of itself. It's very niche. They have to do damage to the base. It is what I call a catch-up card. Can you afford to let them do damage to your base? Well, you either have A, don't have a choice, right? Or B, they have enough units on the board that they do it. Now, I will say, because it does not specify leader, you can defeat any unit. So, for example, if I'm playing against like a Cad Bane or something, a lot of times I will play a top target on the Cad Bane. They will go ahead and activate Cad Bane, and they will use the activation. They will use for their blaster, do their 6 damage to base, and then I'm just going to kill it with this, and I don't even have to have a Rival's Fall. You could argue Rival's Fall is just better, but this allows you to come in like a turn earlier. It's kind of replacing like the Vanquish slot that we used to have, except for this can kill a leader, so it's better than Vanquish. This is the niche one that I've been playing around with. I like this card decently well, especially if I start to get behind. Rivals Fall, it's the leader killer. You got one in the deck, that's it. It's used for leaders or large removal. And then of course our other kill spell is Super Laser Blast. We all know what that does. It's a board wipe. Very plain and simple. You use it as a board wipe whenever you need to. Now we have what's called like healing spells and hand control spells. The first set of it is a client, vigilance, and top target. I used to run Pershing in this deck, and I found I have enough card draw because a lot of these cards you're playing under curve. So like on 4 resources, you're usually playing a 3-cost kill spell, and then you have one other resource to do a damage to something if you want. So it's really, really good. So I replaced Pershings with the clients, and I don't play them right away. I just kind of play them if I know I'm going to get behind. So if I'm playing against like a Vader deck or like a big space race deck, I play the client. Now they can capture it, so you have to be careful. But I could play the client, and now I've got like healing online. And sometimes if you're playing against ground, it acts just like a sentinel. People are like, oh, you can't have that client, and then it takes two actions to kill it. So I like the client for the extra healing in this deck. And then of course top target is even better instead of healing, because you could just stick it as a bounty on something and then kill it with one of your spells. We have so many ways to kill things. It's really, really good. You could combo it with the client to heal for 11. You can combo it with vigilance to heal for 11. It's just like so good, versatile spell. A lot of times I'm playing top target on 4 resources, so I'm playing a 4-cost kill spell or a 3-cost kill spell, doing damage with her, and then putting top target on as my last action. The only time I don't put a top target on a unit as my last action is if I could claim and kill something, because like if something can do 7 damage to the base, I would rather just kill it than save than be able to heal 5, because it's very silly to think of it. Vigilance, and this is kind of leading into our hand control. Vigilance can mill. You have to know when to heal and kill, and when to heal and mill. Those are the only 2 times those are the only 2 options you ever are using on those cards, is the heal kill or heal mill. You have to know the difference. So you do, if a deck is auto milling itself, you don't probably need the mill as much. You can use the defeat option. But if they only have 1 unit on the board and you're only going to take 3 or 4 damage, or you don't have another kill spell, you don't have to kill that unit. You could just heal and mill. But I will tell you, the majority of the time against aggro decks, you're healing and killing, you're healing and killing, especially because your ability to do 2 damage enables you to kill anything with 3 or less health. So anything that's got 5 health, or anything that tried to kill the client, you can now do extra damage and then use your vigilance to kill. And because it's just getting rid of anything with 3 or less health, like it works with leaders too as well. So you can use your ability on a leader sometimes. You can use like open fire and then a vigilance. There's all sorts of weird things, but that kind of gets into the hand control. Like if we could control their hand and we could control their deck, we win the game. So pillage has come back in specifically against any type of a deck that is going to have a limited pool set. So Han 1, Han 2, though the blue variant that has a Kiadi that can draw is a little bit hard, but Sabe is a new leader that likes to discard your cards. You hate that because she can just start getting rid of some of your cards. But you have Pillage, you can start getting rid of her cards back, and now she's having less options to play on the board, and she's either not resourcing, so she's playing less powerful units, or because she's not doing that, you are able to get ahead on board state by using your vigilance to start milling her or any other leader as well. Entrenched is used as kind of an emergency thing. It does turn off some of your other kill spells, but Entrenched does just immediately stop them from swinging to board. It is a 100% must in an aggro meta. We move out of aggro, you don't need this card at all. And then Confiscate is there in case they have pesky pilots. That's really it. It's for the Chewbacca's. I'll just say it's for the Chewbacca's mainly, or any of the decks that have a pilot leader. The few off meta or one-off cards that I have in here is the Crate Dragons. I also think I forgot Annihilators on here, but Crate Dragons and Annihilators are kind of like your in-game type stuff. The Eye of Alderani is super good in the aspect that it's going to let you pay one resource, and it's kind of like an outmaneuver for the next turn, or it allows them to not play any more cards. So again, I'll take Vader as an example. Vader's got 6 units out there. You play the Eye of Alderani, you stop their unit, their next turn, their units from reddering, then you play open fire and kill their victor leader. And now, if they have no other resources to be able to play next turn, they have to pay all those resources, 6 resources, to ready all their units, right? So that means they cannot play down another victor leader, which is what you want. You do not want them to play that victor leader, because then you don't have to waste your turn killing it. Now you've got a full set of resources, and you're able to do all sorts of other stuff. And if they choose not to pay the resources because they want to play stuff, you just saved yourself all that damage. So that is kind of the new tech card that I've been working with in this deck. I really like it because it's a 1 cost. I'm drawing so many cards, I don't care about that. Paying 1 for 1. It's a really, really good, very versatile card as well. And like, again, that moves in the crate. Crate also kind of controls the resources. If I play a crate dragon, anything they play takes damage. I can then kill things on the ground or start doing damage to their base. And if they play anything, 10 damage just starts going into base with their whatever they're playing damage. Like, I can now get ahead on board or get ahead on the damage race without having to have even a board. Right. The other one-off type cards is Tech is there because you sometimes have to resource things you don't want to, and Tech is really good in the end game, and Tech is good against every other control deck. Tech is just good. Tech is an amazing card. I will be very sad when he rotates. Restock is there for the mirror. Any mirror anything you're going to run into that's more hard control than you're probably still going to lose, but it does give you a little bit of an advantage. Bounty Hunter Crew is an off aspect card that is the same thing. It allows you to get back your restock. If they're milling you and they happen to get your restock and your Bounty Hunter, you just cry. If you have an opening hand with Tech and restock against a hard control deck, just throw those in there. Throw them right in there. And our sideboard we'll talk about in a few minutes also does that. But these are the cards that are kind of designed to help you with other control matchups. So now let's talk about, when should you flip? That's a good question, because you could come out on 4 resources. You could come out turn 3 if you want. Would I recommend it? Probably not, but you can do that. The big thing is so we'll start on the bottom. We'll start with control. Your flipping is basically only for endgame, or if somehow their board got away from you and you have to take that board back over. You don't have overwhelming barrage. You don't have any of these other things. The only thing she's good for in a control matchup is to basically close a game out, which she can do very well if you mill them down to the end. Then they have to play cards out of their hand or use their units to kill her, or she's doing 4 damage to their base, plus the 6 damage from not having any cards in deck. Mid-range is a little bit different. Mid-range, if they are able to get ahead on board and you can't control their board because you had some bad draws, you could flip her and take out things. That's what she's used for. Otherwise, she's a great in-game way as a closer out. If you think like what does Cassian do, right? You bring Cassian in a aggro deck to end the game. Deandra is a Cassian that gets to come out and end the game because she's a 4/5. That's really against mid-range. You're trying to stick that crate dragon and like an annihilator or a client and a crate dragon, and they aren't able to deal with all that stuff. And then you flip her, kill their unit, and then just swing in and win the game. Aggro, it's more tricky. Aggro, you have to look at 2 things. The first thing is you have to be very careful, because if they have overwhelm or ambush and you put her down, you might regret that, because they'll be able to use her to go to base. If they are playing a Vader, for example, like Gar, Saxon ECL, on 6 resources, you're just losing Dedra, and it doesn't do anything. Now, what I will tell you is that because she could flip so early, she could flip with Sabine, for example. She could just flip out with C-3PO, and she could just start doing and putting damage into these leader units without having to worry about it. And then you have kill spells that come behind her to clean up the mess. And then you don't care, because against an aggro deck, the majority of what your win condition is going to be is different than anything else. You want those crates and you want those annihilators at the end of the game, because they can't compete with you in endgame material. So you'll flip her to help you stabilize early, make sure that you don't lose too many health points on your base. Especially if they are not letting you, or if they're letting you draw cards and not letting you do damage to their units, sometimes you have to flip her just to be able to get 2 units off the board in 1 turn. I touched on the end game. This is very simple. Your end game is going to be different depending on who you go against. If you're going against aggro, your end game almost all the time is to clear their board and then Crate Dragon or Annihilator, and you win. Very rarely do you have to worry about them having something that can take those on. Sometimes they have like extra, if they get super high in health and they have extra Cassians, it does like Cassian is like kind of the one thing they pay 5, but it's a 3-cost card. So if you only have 3 or 4 health left, sometimes it gets dicey. So I would say you clear the board with Super Laser Blast, then heal, and then play one of these things. And that kind of helps you basically win that game. For mid-range, your end game is your leader, and then you have to choose a route. Either you want like Crate Dragons or milling them. I don't care which it is, but you have to focus on one of the two. If you're going for the mill, then what you need to do is clean your board up, clean their board up all the time. And when you have Vigilance, you always mill. And then you don't have to worry about it. You have a restock to bring that card back. You have one Bounty Hunter crew that you're able to play to get that back. That's what you're doing, and you're that. You could also go like a double Crate Dragon or a Crate Dragon Annihilator route with a mid-range deck. Sometimes they can kill those things, but it helps ping damage. You have 3 Crate Dragons, so if they do damage to the base or kill it, you can do damage to their base. You could play another one, do damage to their base again. So mid-range, you kind of have to decide where you want to go. Typically, I'm going the healing and milling route, and then I save a Crate Dragon or I resource a Crate Dragon and play a tech, and then the next turn I play a Crate Dragon from row or an Annihilator from row. I've done that multiple times. Control, your endgame is mill and restock. There you go. Very rarely can you stick an Annihilator and a Crate Dragon against another control deck, but I guess if you can, good for you. But really, your goal is to just mill them out and heal as much as possible. You have one restock. We're going to lead into the sideboard now, because that's kind of the next discussion piece. Is if you're playing against other control decks, Bounty Hunter crew and restock are immediate adds. You immediately want those in there. You do not want to not have those against control, because they're just so good, especially against anything that's a similar-ish mirror. The other those are just one-off extra ones to give you 2 of each. There could be a discussion of having 3 restocks total, but I don't know how that whole thing's going to go. You kind of have to make a decision. Grenade Strike is in there as an extra against if you're going against anything that's a go wide deck. That's extra kill spells to go wide decks. So that's kind of what they're there for. It depends. You don't always, I say like they're really good against Vader, but they're not super good against CAD most of the time, but they could be good against CAD. The problem is CAD typically is bouncing their unit, but maybe they're not against you. But you want the Grenade Strike in there in your sideboard specifically for that. The other one-off that we don't have that we already have in the main deck is called the Eye of Alderaan. That's just the 3rd copy. It may get cut in the long run. I don't know for sure. I do know that that's like it can be a really good card against other aggro decks as well. But we'll kind of see how things go from here with what they would choose, right? Then the other sideboard stuff that we have is Condemn. Condemn is kind of a newer card. While this is essentially a 3-cost upgrade, while attached unit is attacking, it gains on attack. The defending player may disclose villain blue card. If they do, this unit gets -6 for this attack and loses all the other abilities. I'm testing this. This is all test in theory, but I'm testing this card because it goes good against other mid-range decks. Or, for example, if I have a Crate Dragon, if somebody else plays a Crate Dragon out, I could play this card on their Crate Dragon. And that Crate Dragon now is only doing 4 damage to base. It loses all its abilities. So like if they add something to it to give it, or I guess maybe a Luke is more of a better example of a card, because if Luke is doing their thing, it's giving them the ability to it gives them the ability to bring or not heal their base as easily. So I don't know, that one may not stay, but that's kind of what we have been testing. And then the last one is called Pursue the Lead. Choose a player. That player discards a card from their hand. If it costs 3 or less, create a spy token. I don't know how good this is. I do know that this is like giving us extra turn 1 play. So if we're going against aggro or some mid-range decks that we want to control their hand, because they're going to not have as much stuff against a Vader deck, this is really good too, because now they have to discard a card. It's my opening play, and I might get a spy token out of it. Not that I ever need the spy token, but I have a spy token then. So yeah, I don't know. So those are kind of the sideboard options. So this is my Dedra Blue Colossus deck tech. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you like this, and you'll be testing this out. Let me know how you do. Like I said, this is my list. If you have like improvements to the list, things that you think are better, could be fitted better. I don't want to play a bunch more units, so I am a hard control deck. But if you have suggestions, let me know. I'm very open to experiencing what others may have. With that being said, thank you all. Have a good day, and we'll see you on the flippity flop.